happy Saturday, everybody. How you doing? I am glad you are here on Daily Distinction, and it's been quite the weekend, hasn't it? We just when you think what could happen after the coronavirus, my goodness. As you know, we don't talk politics on the show. We don't talk that kind of thing on the show because there's certainly enough places on social media and enough places on the news that you can get anything you want when it comes to that. But there's a couple of things we're going to talk about today. And of course, on the weekend edition, it's a little bit abbreviated version of Daily Distinction. If you are new to Daily Distinction, and we'll talk about why that might be the case in just a second. But if you're new to Daily Distinction, I'm here every day at 3 o'clock Eastern, noon Pacific time with some ideas and some thoughts. Some days we have guests, some days we don't. And we just talk about what it takes to marketplace. I'm making my point. I hit my computer there. So we're off to a good start. But thank you for being here, and thank you for sharing. Scott, it's never even a day unless you're here. I appreciate it. So gotta like that. So, and Jason Bradshaw, my goodness, from Australia, where it is 5 a.m., a couple minutes afterwards, on Sunday morning. So glad you were here, Jason. Thank you for being here. If you heard me yesterday, Jason is the Chief Customer and Marketing Officer of Volkswagen Group Australia, and a great friend and a great client, and just a great author too. And we're putting something together that we'll talk about very, very soon. So, and the reminder too, if as people are getting in here, to please share the program. That's how we grow our viewership, and it's how we get the chance to spread a little positive message beyond just the folks that are watching right now. So thank you for being here. Also, a quick reminder too is that distinctionnation.com is where you can go to get free resources. It's got a 14-day audio program on creating personal distinction. It's absolutely free for you. There's also ebooks, other resources there to help you stand out and earn more at distinctionnation.com. All right, so I don't even know where to start. First of all, let me tell you about today. All weekend long, I have been a attendee, a participant in a program that my friends Blue Melnick and Barry Baumgardner are putting together for us as participants. It's called the Virtual Event on Virtual Events. I have learned so much about virtual events, but I had the chance to speak to it this morning. They kicked off the day with just kind of Blue and Barry talked about it, and then they asked me to do my keynote in like 15 minutes. So I had 15 minutes to die. And one of the things it reminds you of, and speakers will know what I'm talking about, those that speak, is we're spoiled by the luxury of time. When I speak at meetings like at Volkswagen, that Jason has before there in Australia, you have the luxury of time where you can get into your concepts and you can talk about it. Here I had 15 minutes and I could barely say my name anymore in 15 minutes. It was really something. I had the chance to connect. Oh, thank you, Jerry. I appreciate that. It was great to have a chance to do that. So we talked about the 4 cornerstones of distinction this morning at that event. And Jerry, you don't know, but while it was going on, there was a tech glitch, and I had a remote. They call it a pickle, and the pickle is really the clicker is another thing that's called to advance your slides. And we had a tech problem with that. So I couldn't advance my slides in the way. And so you didn't see, but my hands are frantically, doing things on the keyboard as I'm trying to move things around. But hopefully it worked out great and was okay. I appreciate that, Scott. Thank you. And thank you for watching on Twitter. I appreciate it. Charles, great to see you. Humid Silicon Valley. That's unusual that you guys are getting all that humidity up there. That's pretty incredible. So had a chance to do that. And it talked about virtual events, and I'm so big on that. I'm so excited about that. Again, you've heard me say it's not a pivot. I'm not turning away from anything. I can't wait for live events to come back, but it's more of an embrace. And I love the chance to do this. Love the chance to communicate with you as we're communicating. And I think we're going to have more of that, of virtual events, or these hybrid events are going to be big, I think, in that I can see where we'd have an event in Vegas. And if you wanted to come to Vegas, come to the event in the 10 Live. But if you don't want to travel and you don't want to pay for the hotel room and you don't want to do that, then watch just like we're watching here, and have special things for people that are involved virtually, special things for folks that are attending live in person, and we create these hybrid events. So if you want to travel, great. And if you don't want to travel, that's great too. I think we're going to evolve into more of that as we, come out of this coronavirus. And man, I got to tell you, with everything that's going on, if the virus wasn't going on, the pandemic wasn't happening, I sure wouldn't want to be staying at the Minneapolis Hyatt downtown this weekend, or the Conrad in Indianapolis downtown, where Tammy and I spent our wedding night, right downtown, and protesters there. Fort Wayne had a horrible situation last night, so it's all over. So Jason, I agree. I think hybrid events are going to be amazing for a couple of reasons, many more than two, but two that really jump out at me. One is the flexibility, right? So if a Volkswagen dealer in Perth, for example, doesn't want to go to Brisbane, the chance for them to get involved in that without the travel is great. But I think the other aspect that goes into that, there is a reason that many television shows are recorded in front of a live audience. It adds something to the telecast, that feeling. It just creates a different feeling. Interview shows, whether we're talking about Graham Norton in the UK or Jimmy Fallon in the United States, there's something about the live audience that adds emphasis to the responses, to the engagement. And so being able to create these hybrid events where even the people watching on the computer, on their laptop screen or their iPad screen, or Tammy and I are watching this event on our big screen television. Right? We've got like a 60-inch big screen, and we're watching this event on that, casting it from our iPad onto the big screen. So we're sitting there watching it so to have that feel more like that live event is really, really going to be fantastic. We're excited about that. Oh, I appreciate that, Cheryl. Yeah, I think it's important to be a good student. I think it's really important for all of us to be good students. And that moment that you hear somebody say that, well, I don't have to attend that. I don't have to continue to learn. I don't have to go to that conference. I don't have to listen to that speaker again. I don't have to do. I mean, that's the moment we need to get concerned, because, as I've said here before, I don't want my doctor saying, I really know all I need to know to be your general practitioner. I don't need to go to these conferences to learn about, the latest drug therapies or the latest advances. Really? I want my doctor to know what's the latest research, what's happening now, and how they treat us best, right? So it's part of what I think we have to do. We all, and hey, you and Jerry have an incredible number of live streams and live events and Zoom conferences, and you're there learning too. So hey, it's true for all of us. Oh, you like the mic here? This is that's my mic cover that's on the Distinction Institute. Let's see, I can't get it in the frame. I've got a Distinction Institute. It's called a mic flag. Oh well, can't get it on. I'll have to show you some other time. But it's a Distinction Institute mic flag. So. I want to talk for just a couple minutes before and on the weekends, we go a little bit shorter than what we do during the week. By the way, I got a couple great guests coming up this week. I know that you're going to enjoy. And one in particular is my great friend, Jay Baer, is going to be with us. Jay is the author of several terrific books. Talk Triggers is one of them. And I just respect Jay, and he has such great insight. But his organization has done a lot of research as well in terms of what customers are really looking for. So for all of us in business, Jay Baer is just remarkable and one of the greatest guys you'll ever have a chance to talk to. And he's going to be coming up later on this week, and some others as well. So really, really cool. So make certain that you, yes, absolutely, Jason. Jay will make you look at cookies in a completely different way. And that makes me hungry. Just you saying that makes me want to go get a cookie right now. So that's really good. So, and there's my pal Ken Walls jumping on here. I'll remind you too that it's Ken and Glenn and a guy named Scott, and that's tomorrow night at 8:00 Eastern, 5:00 Pacific. Glenn Morshower, the great character actor known from the TV hits 24 and The Resident, and Ken Walls, the guru of live streaming, the imperial poobah of live streaming. and I get to join him too. And we've had guests before. I think tomorrow, do we have a guest tomorrow, Ken? I think it's just us having a good time, which is always a good thing to do as well. So great to see you. So Jerry, let's talk about this, then we'll move on to talk about what's happening here today. But the amazing thing about today's events, we're in different rooms in the event. Yeah, we've found that too, Jerry. Shelley, who runs the business, she's our chief operating officer and also happens to be my sister. She's going through the course in Indiana, and Tammy and I are out here in Vegas. And we mentioned that as well, is just the diversity of opinion and thought and everything else that we're getting, from our group when we go into a breakout session, and how different it is from her breakout session. And also that the things we just assume that everybody thinks might not be what everybody thinks, which is really, really a great, and that says something as well. It says something even in terms of how we perceive the events that are going on in the United States right now, is the way that, the way that we perceive them might not be the way that they're perceived by everyone. I've told the story here before, but Joe Calloway reminded me about a mutual friend of ours that was talking about politics. And he said, oh man, I'll tell you what, this was years ago when President Obama was running for re-election. He said, Obama's getting beat. He said, everybody I talk to is not going to vote for President Obama. And he believed that was going to be the results of the election, because everybody he talked to was going to vote for Mitt Romney. And the point being that it wasn't that President Obama was going to lose. What it was that he was only talking to people that thought and voted like he does. So we get in this echo chamber, right? Of we say something and what we believe, and then it tends to echo back to us. And we've got to be very cognizant of that we're only getting the input of people who agree with us. Jeff makes an important point. If they can't protest in a civil manner, then they should shut them down. There's some really interesting videos that are circulating right now of some of the African American protesters, even with bullhorns, shouting at people to stop breaking windows. And then the camera swings around and it's young white male teens that are breaking the windows and tearing things up. Sometimes things are not as we assume. Sometimes things are not as we appear. I've heard from a couple folks back in Indiana about, that they're uncovering that some of the folks that were causing problems were white teens that were bussed in and paid minimum wage just to go shout and yell and break windows. So, I mean, you never know where it's coming from in that. But I know this, it gets back, it gets back to a basic principle that we talked about for business and for life. And that is, nobody changes when they're told they're an idiot. And I think the same thing is true with violence, that nobody changes because somebody else loots a store or breaks a window. Nobody's mind gets changed by that. But what gets lost is the importance of the message that the folks that are nonviolent are out there supporting. Let's face it, this country founded on nonviolent protesting. It's what the Patriots did against the British. I mean, it's the essence of our nation, is to be able to express our dissent with what's going on. I loved what the Joe Calloway I mentioned earlier. Joe posted on social media today, reposted a news story, and it was basically the mayor of Chattanooga saying, if any police officer in Chattanooga thinks we need to consider what happened, and you don't think that it's wrong, or you want to defend the policeman, will you please turn in your badge now? And what is being said. The mayor of Atlanta had some great words there. There is a city councilman in Cincinnati, and he uses some bad language on live television, but I can certainly excuse that because of the passion and the directness of his message. And part of what he was saying is, he said, I've seen adults encourage 14-year-old boys to throw bricks at the police. That's got to stop. I've seen adults encourage young people to break windows, and that's got to stop. And just the passion that this African-American city councilman brought to his message is just, it's so profound and heartbreaking at the same time, because you think about, again, what is the example that is being displayed here? Yeah, we went out and dumped a little tea, didn't we? In a way, kind of a quasi, wasn't exactly violent, but we kind of did some things there that that made it interesting. So um, we have to. There is a point that people say enough, and that they are willing to take to the streets and say enough. I mentioned on a show that I was on, not this one, but I mentioned on a show that I was on, and I haven't really talked about it very much in the past because it was just something for me. It wasn't anything I was trying to make a deal out of. But yeah, many of you know I got my start in FFA, the student organization here in the United States. I know we got folks watching all over the world, as I can see. But it's a student organization based here in the United States that I was involved in as a student. And when I was elected as a national officer, your first couple of weeks is what's called an experience program. So what they understand is you probably assume the way that it's done in your hometown and in your home state is the way it is all over the country. So they're trying to put you in situations unlike what you've come from as the beginning of your year, to give you a greater perspective and broader exposure as you begin your year as an officer. So I'm 19 years old. And for a period of time, they put me in a school that was like 99, 98% African American. And I was there for a week. And it was a week that I can say changed me. I don't mean to, sound like the typical middle-aged white guy trying to relate. I can never relate to what it's like, but I'll tell you what, it did change me because, in Crothersville, where I'm from, Crothersville, Indiana, we had no minorities in our school. I mean, none, zero. There were no African American families anywhere near where I lived. I mean, you basically had to go to Louisville or suburban Louisville, like Jeffersonville, New Albany, to run across them. And so my experience was such a tunnel vision one that now all of a sudden, for the first time in my life, and to this day the only time in my life, I spent a period of time where I was the minority. I was the one that people were looking at as being different than what most people were. I was the one that was kind of mistrusted by some because I didn't fit in with a group. I was the one that didn't know quite where to sit in the lunchroom or whatever. And it really profoundly opened my eyes, because the other thing I realized is, even when that was going on, when I'm 19, the thing I realized was when Friday came, it was all over. I went back to the way things used to be. I was not going to have that feeling probably again. And it really profoundly impacted me in terms of how different it feels when you're the minority, when people might mistrust you because of the color of your skin without really knowing the content of your character, to paraphrase Dr. King. And so one of the things I think we need to do, one of the things I would hope we would do is, first of all, to understand that violence isn't response, and that whomever is doing that, whether it's the white kids that you see on some of the videos or whomever it might be, I mean, there's no excuse for that. But I think we also have to understand that those of us who have been treated respectfully, or at least equally, by police officers, we have to understand it might not be that way. I remember I'm 20, 21, and I'm in a car, and the other guy in the car was a friend of mine who is African American, and we were going through a area where bad weather had happened, but police were directing traffic, and just the way that our car got looked at differently, it was obvious. It was something you could tell. So yeah, I just want to make certain that we approach. I put a heart over my shoulder, because the message from antiquity Uh, not trying to tell you what you should believe or what religion is important, but the message that I take is that love is the answer, right? And that understanding and that caring and that that love is what will conquer all. And it's not hate and it's not violence, but it is being positive. And Sonia says it here. I tend to gravitate towards positive people. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. You tend to gravitate toward positive. Yes, kindness matters. And it's if someone says Black Lives Matter, I think the appropriate response is absolutely. That's all we need to say. If I say I think my spouse is beautiful, it doesn't mean that I think yours is ugly. So when I say Black Lives Matter, it doesn't mean that I think they matter more than someone else or that yours don't matter because I'm just making a statement that they matter. Just like I make a statement, I believe my wife is beautiful. Doesn't mean I'm saying anything about anything else other than that. And so it seems to me the answer is just absolutely. Of course. What other response could there be? So let's try a little harder at love. Yeah, Pam, it does. You are exactly right, my friend. Love says it all. And we are not going to hate our way out of this situation. And we're not going to negative our way out of this situation either. Years ago, the first book that I had a chance to be a part of, and I wrote it with my friend Tony Boyle. And gosh, she's just incredible. And the name of the book was Just Say Yes. And the reason I wrote it was because it was during the time, remember when Nancy Reagan was talking about drugs and telling everybody, just say no, just say no. And I started thinking, all right, well, if we're telling people what they should say no to, doesn't it also make sense we should tell people what they should say yes to? And one of the things I realized is you cannot know, you cannot know negative your way into something that you want. You can only yes your way there. Only by taking positive action, you will get positive results. Negative attitudes and negative actions tend to spur negative results. Something we all need to remember in this time. If you're taking negative action, it's going to get negative. Now, I think peaceful protest can be a positive approach. Don't misunderstand me there. But if we're taking violence and we're doing breaking somebody else's business, that's a negative action, and it's never going to, in the end run, create positive results. You can't create positive results through negative action. It's got to be what we say yes to. And so during this time, I hope you will think about what can I do positively. We wouldn't appreciate the sunshine if we didn't have rain. We wouldn't appreciate the summer if winter wasn't around. We wouldn't appreciate what we have if we didn't know what the other side was as well. And so it's not trying to be Pollyanna and just put rose-colored glasses on. Oh, the world, I'm not saying that at all. And we know people that are like that. But what we are saying is we've got to find a way to make certain we get through this and be a little bit more open and willing and able to have conversations without personal criticism. What needs to be done is these buildings weren't in business insured. Yeah, you're right, Ann. And so, oh, kid, well, thank you. I don't know. Yeah, I don't think Tammy's watching right now. She's working on another project, but I'll make sure to catch this on the replay so that she knows that I'm talking positively about her. That's the thing. Our goal is to be positive. Our goal is to have a positive approach, even during negative times. The goal is to have a positive approach, and that's the challenge for you, and it's the challenge for I. Even as these situations are negative, look, at the end of the day, if we can keep our positivity when the world around us is going crazy with negativity, then we're going to be the ones that are distinctive. Then we're going to be the ones that stand out and earn more. We're going to be the ones that make a difference in the future, because those who take positive action get positive results, and positive results, that's where it's at today. Hey, Brian Hess, great to see you. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow night as well when we do the Ken and Glenn show with a guy named Scott. That would be me. So look forward to that. It's good to see you. Thank you. And thanks to everybody for being here. Let's try. It's difficult. When social media is so negative and when the news is so negative, I know it's challenging. But yes is a conscious choice, and positivity is a conscious choice. Let's make that conscious choice. Let's decide we're going to just say yes. Let's decide that while the world around us goes crazy, this is going to be our little oasis of being positive. Because again, remember, positive results only happen through positive action. Positive action is only spurred by positive thinking, by positive thoughts, by positive attitudes. It all works together. It's a web. It's inseparable. The positive thoughts create the positive actions. The positive actions create positive results. Positive results create distinction, makes great things happen. That's where we are and where we need to be. Hey, I hope you have a great Saturday with what's left of it of the day. And I hope you'll join me again tomorrow right here for the next edition of what we do here every day with Daily Distinction. Check out distinctionnation.com for the free resources. And please remember that most of our viewers watch this on the replay. So when you share it, it really helps grow that resource for us. I look forward to talking to you again tomorrow right here. I'll be here for another short version of Daily Distinction at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. And I look forward to seeing you then. Have a great day.